And a pleasant evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Friday, January the 9th, 2009. And my name is Irv Homer. We do this Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7 till, what time is it? 8 till 9. I'll get it straight one of these days, gang, I'll tell you. We do this program for my convenience and gives me a chance to get rid of some of my inhibitions and some of the other things. So we permit you, once again, to use our telephone to get in touch with us at 215-253-8877, 215-253-8877. And you can email me at evilerv@irvhomer.com. My website is www.irvhomer.com. And, of course, this program is brought to you from irvhomer.com. That's where we're broadcasting from. And the technicalities of this program were put together by RGH Computer Services and their telephone number if you have a problem with your computer. Anyway, at all, give them a call at 215-322-8685. 215-322-8685 if you have a computer problem, and they may be able to solve it right over the telephone. We have to give a special shout out tonight to Gail, who is feeling poorly right now. Gail doesn't feel well, and one of our loyal listeners and friends for many, many, many years, kind of a member of the Homer family. So, Gail, if you're watching, if you're viewing us, Ron and I both, and Shane, of course, hope you're feeling better. Gail's a strange thing. Everybody had a flu shot, but everybody seems to be getting the flu lately. I don't know what it is. And this Tamiflu is not working for, well, strange things happen. Anyway, the gist of the program tonight is your telephone calls to 215-253-8877, or on our chat room. We have someone on the chat room there says that didn't the Red Cross refuse to enter Israel in 1948, etc. The Red Cross does not go into Israel because they have a cross. You will see the Mogen David trucks, or ambulances rather, in Israel with the Star of David on it. It is not that the Red Cross wouldn't go in there. They won't go in there because they can't use the cross. And so there's a little religious confrontation there, Arlene. But the Red Cross would not go into Israel in 1948, and they still don't. They work in cooperation with Mogen David, but they do not go into the nation of Israel. The war is still going on in Israel. I've said many times that the only ones that can stop this war in the Middle East is the Israelis and the Palestinians. The Israelis are determined not to worry about the rest of the world because the rest of the world really don't give a damn about Israel. But there's something original that I wanted to bring up to you while we're on the Middle East, and we'll get into the other things that I wanted to talk about. And Stu Bykowski, a few months ago, wrote an article about would the world be better off without Israel? Now, looking objectively at it, and naturally my sympathies are with the Jewish people, being of Jewish heritage, but I believe in being fair, and I believe in being understanding, and believe to be concerned about people who are dying. However, let's suppose hypothetically that Israel was defeated, no longer existed. Let's say that the Arabs were successful in killing the 4.5 million Jews that reside in Israel. And they win. They got the land. They got Israel. But they're still losers. They've spent millions of dollars with the PLO that were stolen. They do not believe in modernity. That is, they don't believe in moving into the 21st or 22nd century. They still don't have the best hospitals in any of the Arab countries. They still wear clerical garb and idiotic garb. Women don't have the right to vote in the Arab. So they're going to be losers without the mezuzah being there in Israel. So who would they then blame, ladies and gentlemen, for their failure to move into the modern generation. Huh? They would blame the United States. As I see it, and as Stu Bykowski sees it from the Philadelphia Daily News, it's amazing to know that Israel is taking the blows for us, the United States of America. Who are they going to blame it on? Who are they going to blame on the fact that these people are way behind the curve in technology, medicine, education? Do you realize that when we took over Iraq, there was 74% illiteracy in Iraq? Only 26% of the people there could read or write. I think it's up to about 30% now can. Now, these are the losers, ladies and gentlemen, that love their way of life. I don't want to change it. You want to be ignorant? It's all right with me. But when you're fighting an enemy, you have to know who you are fighting. And if Israel goes down, they're going to blame us because they're losers. Your thoughts or comments are welcome on that thought. Another question on our chat room. While you are on the Middle East, you might want to know that CNN just did a piece about the launching rockets that Hamas is launching are being bought from China. Well, what's so surprising about that? United States happens to be the biggest manufacturer and salesman of military hardware. Our fighter planes are bought all over the world. Our guns, big guns that is, are manufactured by us through other countries. And the reason that arms are sold on the world market, Arlene and listeners and viewers, there is no credit with military hardware. In other words, if you want arms or ammunition from any country, it's cash or gold on the barrelhead. There is no credit in buying military hardware. We do not sell any of our military equipment, or China or anybody else sells military hardware on credit. So when countries need hard currency, they sell arms and ammunition. Now, the CNN report did not specifically say that the launching rockets were bought from China. They suspect they were bought in China, but they're not sure, because countries use ghost sales. The weapons could have been made in Syria, sent to China, China exported them. But wherever Hamas and the terrorists are getting their weapons from, folks, I go back to my original statement. If they can put arms and ammunition through the tunnels that the Israelis are blowing up, and if they can get all these arms and ammunition and rockets, why can't they bring food and medicine through the same tunnels? The Middle East is going to blow up. Make no mistake about it. There is not going to be any peace in the Middle East. Obama's not going to be able to make peace in the Middle East. The Arab nations are not going to be able to make peace in the Middle East. This thing is going to escalate until either Israel is totally defeated or Hamas is totally defeated. I made a statement a few years back on WWDB that Israel will no longer exist 50 years from then. It's been about 15 years. In my opinion, Israel has about 35 more years to exist. Maybe not by military annihilation, but by mere birth rate. the birth rate in Israel, the birth rate of Caucasians in the Middle East are being outproduced about 6-1 by the Arab population. And so they may not lose by bullets, but Israel will lose by the ballot. They will be outproduced by humanity. Israelis have about 1.5 children. The Palestinians and the Arabs have about 4. With the exception of the Orthodox Jews, in Israel, the birth rate in Israel is very small. We have a phone call on our 215-253-8877 line. Caller, go ahead.
Yes, hello, how are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Good. My name's Chris. I'm calling from suburban Philadelphia.
Welcome,
I
Chris.
just have a quick question. I had a little bit of a epiphany regarding legal immigration, and I was wondering what you would think about the theory that the United States government would let so many people in through our borders so that they would offer them amnesty in return for military service in response to a major conflict such as a world war. Would that be a feasible assumption?
That question has been debated many, many times, Chris. The problem is, could you take an illegal immigrant, put him in military service, and then court-martial him if he's not an American citizen?
Well, let's just say if they did offer him American citizenship in return for military service, and then turn around and well, not turn around, but let's just say that troops were needed to go against major opponents such as China or a conglomerate of Middle East country.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and it may have a lot of moral merit to it. My problem is the mere fact that you grant someone citizenship to serve in the military doesn't mean that that person will be loyal to the United States. Ergo, there is so much money around and so many spies around that it would be very easy for the enemy of this country to meet one of these people and say, listen, you got no loyalty to the United States. We'll give you $20,000. Bring us a weapon. Bring us a gun. Bring us a schematic of the electronic system. So it would be very difficult. Patriotism, believe it or not, has a certain honor when you serve in the military of a country. You're being forced to kill for that country, and you're putting your life at risk to be killed. So it's a very delicate situation. Like I said, it is a moral great idea. But how can you trust anybody with people like this? It's a very difficult thing to do, Chris. It's a great idea. And I'm sure.
Yeah, but as far as like a last resort option,
Yeah, I'm
maybe
sure.
put it on the table. But I was just pondering it. I just wanted to get your opinion on that. Thank you.
Right, it's a good idea, Chris, but I don't think it would work. Thank you, Chris. Our,
Okay.
our telephone number, once again, 215-253-8877. The first case made the news yesterday, ladies and gentlemen, of a female soldier who has gone to Canada. She's the mother of 3 children. She went AWOL from the United States military and fled to Canada, looking for sanctuary in Canada. Canada will be extraditing her back to the United States. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not the United States prosecutes her or not. If you remember, during the Vietnam War, Canada did provide sanctuary for American servicemen and women who fled to Canada, A, who were AWOL, or B, to avoid the draft. But the fact is, the first woman is now in Canada fighting to remain there. She's the mother of 3 children. She is in the United States Army, and the question is whether or not they will send her back. And will she be court-martialed in the United States? How do you court-martial a mama with 3 kids? Thank you very much. Our telephone number, once again, is 215-253-8877. Your questions or comments are welcome on the chat room on the Irv Homer Show, and we're broadcasting from irvhomer.com. If you watch the news today, you saw Rob Blagojevich, who is the governor of the state of Illinois. Now, I've seen people with balls in my life, but with all due respect, you'll pardon my language, this governor's got balls. He's not going down without a fight. But I was thinking of something while the Senate was refusing to allow Rod Dennis, the appointee senator from the state of Illinois, to be seated in the United States Senate. And the reason they didn't seat him was because of the tainted governor who appointed him, Blagojevich. And the thing arose to me, if the governor of Illinois, Blagojevich, does not have any credibility to appoint the senator, then what about all the other bills, the commutations, the pardons after his arrest, and the business that he did to the present time if he was tainted? In the state of Illinois, there are lawyers right now representing criminals, representing companies, stating that, well, if the governor is too tainted because of his indictment to have credibility in seating and appointing a United States senator, then he shouldn't have any credibility in pardoning a criminal, giving out contracts, or any other type of legal litigation he was involved in from his indictment until today. You can't have it both ways. He's either guilty of not being qualified to appoint a United States senator, which is his right to do as a governor, or he's not. So you can't say no, you can't appoint him a senator. By the same token, all the other laws that he passed are legal. So this thing has opened up a can of worms, second to none. And my prophecy is that he will be seated. The senator designate will be seated, because this is a hot potato. They haven't the faintest idea of what the hell to do with it. I'm reviewing the stimulus. I heard President-elect Barack Obama today speaking about the stimulus package. And he said something very interesting. If anyone else has a better idea, let him submit it to me after I'm in office. Hello? I thought you had the best idea. Now he's asking for help because he's questioning whether or not this, quote, stimulus package is valid. But the big story is, and I think every one of you people listening or viewing or on my regular program during the day should be so damned outraged of the $700 billion that was appropriated for the bailout of the banks. They don't know where $350 billion of it went. Hell, I may as well just say, here, Uncle Sam, here's the rest of my damn money. You may as well take it all. What the hell kind of government do we have, ladies and gentlemen? We boobus suckers, taxpayers, without our consent, but the consent of those who represent us, authorize President, mission accomplished, to spend $700 billion for a bailout for companies where the CEO should be in jail along with the board of directors of those corporations, and have the unmitigated gall to say they don't know where $350 billion went. What the hell is this, a joke with you people in Washington? I don't see a damn thing funny about it. As two of the news commentators on the 7 o'clock news tonight were broadcasting the missing $350 billion, they were laughing. Well, I'm glad these whores on radio and television think it's funny. I don't think it's funny. $350 billion of the $700 billion that have been appropriated is gone. Where in the hell did it go? It boggles my mind. There should be an uprising on the streets of America. Does it not outrage you? Or are you so damn worried about the Eagles game on Sunday that missing $350 billion is a damn joke? I want to know where the hell that money is. Holy God! I didn't want to bring it up because I was so damned outraged when I first heard it, and I suspected it. But I can't sit quiet. To the chat room, Irv, I didn't see Obama's comments that way in inviting a better idea. Well, my dear friend, I did. I did see it that way. Irv, I hope they press charges against Rod Blagojevich. I hope they will have the same cameras at his trial that they did with O.J. Well, if the man is guilty, to whoever it is on the chat room there, let the law prevail and put him in jail. The thing that bothers me with this case is that the special prosecutor now wants more time to make his evidence concrete. Well, wait a minute. Why did you indict this guy, indict him, if you didn't have all your ducks lined up in a row? True. There was a woman, if you saw the news tonight, who was a hospital administrator who the FBI wired. And apparently, that tapes that she turned over to the FBI may have some incriminating evidence on it. But make no mistake about it, ladies and gentlemen. It's tough to get a conviction of this guy. And this case is going to drag on. The reason I don't want it to drag on is because, and get the press that you're asking for the same as OJ, it will take away from the real issues that we're facing in this country, and that is the continual loss of jobs and the lack of direction that I had suggested. I saw it that he was asking those who criticize his bailout if they have a better idea, such as Limbaugh and Hannity. Well, don't expect those two clowns to do anything but criticize. They're not problem solvers. Talk show windbags, bloviators such as the ones you mentioned, Limbaugh and Hannity, who incidentally are losing their ratings more than the unemployed. They're losing more and more listeners. They don't have any ideas. They don't know anything about anything other than what they're fed by the Republican National Committee and their talking points of Roger Ailes. They don't have any ideas. Let them present an idea. Lou Dobbs tonight. Blah, 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 blah. I said, give me an idea, Lou. What are you going to do? While we're talking about talk radio, and I'll get to the other people on the chat room, My dear friend and former colleague Michael Smerconish of WPHT, if you read the papers or listen to Michael's show, will be going national. I don't know how many radio stations have signed up for his program, but he will be going national. He will be still doing the morning program on WPHT. And I predict that he will destroy Limbaugh and Hannity on national ratings. I sent him a letter of congratulations today through his program director. And I mentioned it to the program. He said, "You think so, Irv?" I said, "Yes," because Michael has finally realized that America is a centrist country, that the bloviators on the right have had their 15 minutes of fame, and they're done. Michael will be a fresh voice on syndicated radio and will destroy them two clowns. And I wish him the best. I received a email from Michael Smerconish congratulating me with a little caveat saying on the end of it, "But you're still a pain in the ass, Homer." Well, Michael, you better do the job right, or I'll be a bigger pain in the ass than I was before. But we wish you well. Irv, the 350 billion loss is proof that we are in the throes of the same as the fall of Rome. I would agree with you. Great civilizations only last about 250 years. We're in our 250th year. Now, most great nations fall from within, not from without. Nobody can beat us militarily. But with the corruption that we have in this country and the stupidity that we have in Congress and the stupidity of the American people, our country is doomed. There has to be some logistical common sense in this country or we are doomed. The only political candidate for President of the United States in this last election was Dr. Ron Paul, who was replaced by Bob Barr, who was one of the managers in the impeachment of Bill Clinton. Now, you may think I'm beating a bad and old drum, but my old drum beat and the Libertarian Party drum beat is the only beat that is going to save this country. We have a caller on the line. Caller, go ahead, please. Turn your computer down, please.
Okay.
Hello?
Irv.
Yes.
Irv.
Yes, sir.
I have a couple questions about Israel.
Sure.
Is Gaza a part of Israel still?
No. They turned it over to the Palestinians and removed all of the Israeli settlers from the Gaza. It is a self-proclaimed country, territory. It had an election, and it elected Mahmoud Abbas, the president, and Hamas as the political party.
Okay, so are there Palestinians and Arabs or citizens in Israel?
No. The Gaza is a separate country.
Well, then how will Israel lose if they're outnumbered by the people, by the Arabs and the Palestinians?
Well, the Arab population that lives in Israel. There is over almost 2 million Arabs that live in Israel that are Israelis.
So do they vote?
Yes.
In their elections?
Yes. They vote in the election, and they are represented in what is known as the Knesset, which is comparable to our Congress. The only thing the Arabs are not required to do as Israeli citizens is to serve in the military.
So they can vote the people out of office.
That's right.
Do you think that Benjamin Netanyahu will ever become the prime minister there?
No.
You think that would make a difference?
I know it would make a difference, but Israel still, under this Labor Party that is the majority party in Israel, still caters to the United States and listens to what United States policy is. The United States does not want Israel to be a military dictatorship in the Middle East and to annihilate the Arabs because of America's oil interests there. So Israel still listens basically to the United States. If it ever gets to a point where Israel is threatened by the other 22 Arab nations, then Israel will drop a nuclear bomb on them. But as it is right now, they listen pretty much to the United States.
Is abortion a big issue in Israel?
Is what, sir?
Abortion? You were talking about the birth rates?
Yes, abortion is permitted in Israel, but not in the religious hospitals.
Do you see the same thing happening in the city in the United States? The cities are more and more the cities become minority oriented.
Oh yes, yes. America, 75 years from now, Caucasians will be a minority race. We whites will be a minority if the population growth of Hispanics, African Americans continues at the rate that it does in America, and the abortion rate of Caucasians in America continues. The Caucasians in America will be a minority race 50 years from now.
So we're heading in the same direction.
Well, these are the statistics. They're not my figures. All you have to do is take a look at the population growth and the illegal immigration into America, and you'll see that whites are not multiplying at the rate that non-whites are.
Wow.
And so the figures can't lie. If white people are not having babies and black people are and Hispanics are, and I don't know what color they are, some are black, some are white, some are passed for anything you want to, but the white people in America are going to be a minority 50 to 75 years from now if the birth rate in this country continues the way it is.
What's your opinion of Rahm Emanuel?
He's a politician. He's a politician. He's a smart politician. The whole Barack Obama administration does not thrill me one bit, because it's the same boys recycled under the Clinton administration. All the old boys are back in power again. None of them have a new or creative idea, and I don't know what they expect from Barack Obama if he recycles the same old losers that were in government for years. He hasn't brought anybody new in. There's no innovative ideas. Rahm Emanuel has no new ideas. You check his record, he's one of the old boys. The game is still the same. And I don't know where this change is going to take place. I see a change moving toward either anarchy in America or martial law.
Yeah, well, one of Obama's statements during his campaign was change in Washington just can't be different people moving to different seats. And that's exactly what he's done since he's been in there.
That's exactly why I made this statement that I made, dear caller, because that's exactly it. It's just a matter of musical chairs.
Well, I've been listening to you for the better part of 20 years, and I'm just glad you're back on the air.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Take care, my friend.
All right, bye.
Our telephone number for you to call is 215-253-8877. The next question on our chat room, is it lost, or do you think they just don't want to say so right now? No, they have no idea. See, let me tell you something, dear friends. People think that the people we elect to office know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing. They have no idea what they're doing. They vote for something and then they say, oh, that's good. Well, the other thing is that, and I thought I made this clear, but I'll try to make it clear again. I remember meeting with former Congressman Dick Armey and Billy Tauzin of Louisiana. Dick Armey, if you remember, was from Texas. And I was had an interview before that with Robert Reich, who was the head of the Department of Labor under the Clinton administration. And I asked Robert Reich about the taxes in America, because I was going to moderate a debate between the value-added tax and the national sales tax between Dick Armey and Billy Tauzin at the Northampton Country Club, and I wanted to know what the Secretary of Labor thought. And his answer to me was the most startling answer I ever got. He said, Irv, I know about the Department of Labor. I know nothing about the Treasury Department. I said, what? He said, one department in government doesn't know anything about the other department. If you're on the finance committee, you don't know anything about labor. If you're on the labor committee, you don't know anything about health and human services. If you're in health and human services, you don't know anything about the judicial department. And I said, is that the way it works, Mr. Reich? He says, yeah. There isn't a coalition of thought in government in Washington. There are a bunch of little businesses all operating independently. One don't talk to the other. If you recall, during the 9/11 hearings, the FBI wasn't allowed to talk to the CIA. Remember that? Remember the FBI wasn't allowed? The FBI allegedly had information of a potential strike against somewhere in the United States. They weren't allowed to tell the CIA. CIA wasn't allowed to tell them. And I will make it even closer to home. I had a next door neighbor years ago who was in the Philadelphia Police Department. He did undercover work. Plainclothes officer. Nice guy. Still talk to him. He's retired now. And we were sitting on the front step. This goes back many years ago. And I said, so-and-so, what'd you do today? He said, I hid in the closet of a certain hospital. And he mentioned the hospital. I said, what? He said, I hid in the closet of a hospital looking for the bookmaker that was taking numbers in the hospital from the employees and the nurses. You did? Uh-huh. I said, well, but he said, that wasn't the best part. Somebody saw me in the closet, and they called the police department. The police department came, and the uniformed officers wanted to lock me up. I had a heck of a time telling them that I was a cop looking for the number writer. Apparently, the Philadelphia Police Department didn't tell the local district that there's an undercover man looking for a bookmaker in the hospital, and the cops locked him up. Well, that's in a small case, let alone the size of government being that big. One part of the government has no idea what the hell the other part is doing. Ergo, the problems we end up with today. Now, the one thing that Obama did do, he appointed this independent coordinator, you know. Now, the question is, how do you give that person that much power to oversee the coordination of all the agencies? To our chat room, once again, our telephone number is 215-253-8877, 215-253-8877, and we do have a chat room there. Irv Paul Craig Roberts said we are headed for the biggest depression he has ever seen. How do you feel about this? I don't know how old Paul Craig Roberts is, but I bet you I'm older than he is, Bill. You are going to see a depression, but nothing that we've ever had before. Because there are still people with money. And if you take a look, they all live in gated communities. And they all live in enclaves of 55 and older. And they all live in condos. And what you're going to see is a class war depression in America. You're going to see the poor people who don't have a job, who will potentially lose their home, evicted from their apartments, who'll be on the streets in anarchy, or going to the biggest food surplus outlets there is, getting cheese and getting coffee and getting food and getting food banks. Those will grow in America. America will feed the poor and the hungry. That will be the government responsibility. But the people who still have money in America, and there are a lot of people who have money in America where this particular situation is not affecting, they're going to be armed guards around their communities. I've screamed for years, Bill, that I think it's a disgrace And I know charity is very important in America. We are a charitable bunch of people. We see a dog, hell, we'll spend $20,000 to get that dog fixed. We have a thing in Bucks County that I was taking a task for, and it's a Give a Christmas Fund. And on the air, I asked for someone who was a benefactor of the Give a Christmas Fund of the Bucks County Courier-Times, and I think some other fraternal and social groups. I wasn't saying that the money was not used properly. I was not casting any shadow of suspicion on the Bucks County Courier-Times. Well, I got a letter in my briefcase from the editor of the Bucks County Courier-Times that one of his employees told him that I said that there was something going on. Well, that's the stupidity of the editor of the Bucks County Courier-Times. Instead of calling me direct and saying, Irv, what did you say? He heard from, this is the reporting. See, this guy's the editor of the Bucks County Courier-Times. Factual reporting. He writes me a letter on hearsay from his employee. Yeah? You know the credibility of the Bucks County Courier-Times when it comes to news stories? That gives you a classic example. The richest, most powerful country in the world, that I was always taught to believe, has to have toys for tots because kids in America can't get a toy because their parents can't afford it. I met with the Marines at the radio station who were picking up the toys for tots. I think our radio station got 1,300 toys or something. We have food banks in America where people go to get surplus cheese. We have various organizations giving out food, turkeys for Thanksgiving, hams for Easter. Is there no shame in America? We have poor people practically begging on radio and television for a toy for their kid, or a ham for their Easter, or a turkey for their Thanksgiving. And each year it gets worse and worse. And all the years I was shouting about that, now the depression is coming. Oh, Paul Craig Roberts. Did you ever write an article, Paul Craig Roberts being embarrassed because a little kid don't have a toy? And some fat guy that gets $100 an hour playing Santa Claus gives it to him while the kid's peeing on his lap? Old people standing in the heat to get a fan so they don't die in their apartments? That's a depression. Those people have been in a depression for years. We had a great summer in Philadelphia last year. Only 8 people died from heat prostration because they had no air conditioning or cooling in their apartment. Who in the hell are we to criticize the rest of the world when we at home ourselves have to give out surplus food to the hungry, turkeys for the poor, hams for the poor, toys for the kids? What's going to happen, Bill, is the people who thought, quote, they had it made are now going to be standing in line getting a toy for their kid for Christmas, or maybe a turkey for Thanksgiving, or maybe a ham for Easter. But the rich and powerful in this country are not going to see a depression like we had before. The middle class and the poor people are going to get hit right in the ass, and they're the ones that are going to be standing in line for the free food. And when the unemployment compensation runs out, unless they extend the unemployment hey, wait a minute, when you get unemployment compensation beyond 12, isn't that called welfare? Gee, you mean we may end up with a welfare state that prevented depression? Where's this great capitalism that I hear so much about in this country? Where is this business that the government is too big? From the blowhards like Limbaugh and Hannity. We're going to be in for some crazy, crazy, crazy financial times but it won't be a depression. It'll be anarchy and armed communities is what it's going to be. Irv, how then would you redistribute the wealth in the United States between the classes you refer to so we can right this wrongful balance of wealth? Rick and Percy. I don't want to take away anything from anybody who's rich. I don't want to redistribute the wealth. I don't believe in the redistribution of wealth. I believe that a person's wealth to a community is to what he gives to the community, what he either produces or a service that he provides. I want my doctor to make $10 million a year. And I want Donovan McNabb to make $100,000 a year. I want to shut down the damn casinos so that some idiot doesn't tell me that look at the money the casinos generated, but this idiot doesn't tell you that somebody had to lose that money for the casino to make it. There's a story, my dear friend, that you can show me a rich man and you can show me an honest man, but you can't show me an honest rich man. Either lobbyists, knowing somebody, deals under the table, offshore investments, offshore, moving your corporation offshore. The flexibility among the wealthy and powerful is not afforded to the middle class and the poor. So it's not a matter of redistributing the wealth. It's making the wealth more accessible. However, the wealth of the world is controlled by about 6,000 families. And the reason the world is in debt today is because they control all of the wealth of the world. They're not all Jews either, so don't get carried away. We peasants must borrow from them to keep the game of capitalism going. If you own natural resources, land, oil, water rights, mineral rights, I can never take that away from you. How dare somebody tell me that I've got to pay to use a beach? There's no redistribution of wealth in the country. There has to be a rethought. Profit of any industry is unpaid wages. Profit in any industry is unpaid wages. So the redistribution of wealth is not what I'm after. I'm after more access for more people to attain wealth. Not through inheritance, not through other means of inheriting wealth, not from the Annenbergs and the DuPonts and the Stotesburys taking their money and wealth and moving it into endowments and moving it into grants and moving it into foundations to take the real wealth out of the circulatory system of monetary capital in this country. Do you know there is some money in some of these foundations and estates and endowments that have more money in them than 80% of the wealth of the countries that are in the United Nations? I want all the money that's placed in these endowments, foundations, exempt tax statuses from the wealthy and put back in circulation. Let them pay taxes on that stuff. See, poor people and middle class people don't know how this system works. You get a gazillion dollars and then you move it into a tax-exempt foundation and you make yourself the president of that foundation and you draw on that as an expense. Benjamin Disraeli, the Prime Minister of England, once said, "I care not who wears the crown as long as I control the coin." So rich people in America, my dear friend, don't own anything. They control it. That's why you can never worry about redistributing the wealth. Just give the poor an opportunity, the middle class an opportunity to accumulate that wealth. I don't know if it embarrasses you what I just said, but it embarrasses me. I feel guilty if I give a toy to a poor child at Christmas time because I don't want that kid to live in poverty, that his parents he can't get a toy. I cleanse my conscience by writing a check for some homeless person. I see a homeless guy standing on the corner the other day on the boulevard. They're forbidden to do that. Against the law. Oh, screw the law. It was 26 degrees outside. He was standing on the corner of the strip on Roosevelt Boulevard at Welsh Road. And I gave the guy $1. And the guy in back of me blew the horn. And I stopped my car altogether right on the boulevard and got out and talked to this homeless guy. I thought this guy back of me was going to have a coronary. I said, "Screw you, pal. This guy's out in 20. Even if the guy was healthy and could work, anybody that would stand at 6 o'clock at night for a handout, in my opinion, 23-degree temperature, is entitled to $1. I see homeless in Philadelphia, I give them $1. If I had a bottle of wine, I give them a bottle of wine. Are we not our brother's keeper? Well, if you believe in being your brother's keeper, let's all go downtown and bring home a homeless drunk to our house. Let's put our money where our mouth is. When you have sleazy politicians that take payoffs, millions of dollars, do you realize depression, my dear friend of depression? How much money did this last election cost, and what did we, the taxpayers, get out of it? There's money in America, my dear friend. There's money in America. How much did this last election cost? $2 billion? $60 million to run for United States Senate office? $30 million for a congressman? And this clown's got the nerve to say we're on the road to a depression? We're going to have something in this country that you ain't going to want to see. And they're not addressing the real question. And I said that before, I say it again. I have here a copy of a letter. I invested in this company many years ago. This letter is from Mexico. What they wanted me to do in the company that I was with was to move the company from Philadelphia to Mexico. Just want to read this one part here. This was in 1992. I started screaming about this in 1964. This letter's from 1992. In Juarez, Mexico, just across from El Paso, Texas, more than 300 U.S. companies are profiting from this production sharing program because of the several advantages to operating in Mexico. This is from the Industrial Juarez, the Postal Department. I'll even give you the telephone number. It is 1613-5262. This is the Mexican government inviting me to move my company down to Mexico, or the company I was affiliated with. I was invested in it. I didn't own the company. I didn't work for them. In 1992, 300 American companies were in Juarez, Mexico, where the average wage is $4 to $5 an hour. Now, the only way we're going to eliminate a depression, unemployment, is to do something to get those 300 companies back into the United States to manufacture and distribute things. When somebody speaks about patriotism, oh, Irv, there you go. And you criticize people on the right. But aren't you tired of buying everything that says made in China, made in Japan, made in Taiwan? This shirt was made in Bangladesh. I didn't even know where the hell Bangladesh is. Some slave is making this shirt that I have on tonight because some American plant moved to Bangladesh to make this shirt and teach them how to do it. When I see Obama, or I see Biden, or I see any of these nitwits in Washington saying we must move American corporations back to the United States, we must start manufacturing steel, we must start manufacturing clothing, we must start manufacturing refrigerators, we must start manufacturing toasters, we must start manufacturing clothing, we start manufacturing our own shoes, then I will know that these people are talking sense. Don't tell me you're going to create jobs by fixing the highways and fixing the bridges and fixing the toilets and fixing my ass and fixing your constipation. We need productivity back in America that this government has subsidized all over the world. But I had mentioned before that capitalism in America runs on slave labor. The working man in America cannot be able to afford a living wage or benefits. Capitalism don't work that way. Capitalism works with an underclass working part of society while the middle class and the rich live off the fruits of their labor. Ergo, we bring in 11 million illegal immigrants to do the menial work in this country. Do you need a damn picture to show it to you? You don't know that slavery made America? You don't know that when we built the railroads in America, we imported Chinese coolies? It's been a system of recycling slave labor so that capitalism works. And when we couldn't import any more slaves, we sent the companies outside the United States so the slaves in those countries can manufacture the stuff that we buy. And now we're boo-hoo because 1,400 people are laid off here and 1,200. What the hell do we manufacture in America to create jobs? You tell me. What do we manufacture? Casinos, slot machines, table games, football stadiums, baseball stadiums, hockey teams. That's what we make in America. We don't make a lousy toaster in this country. We don't make a lousy piece of steel in this country. But we got sports stadiums coming out of our ass. We got casinos coming out of our ass. We got stupid television programming coming out of our ass and stupider radio. So you tell me how you're going to create jobs. By building more casinos? Building more stadiums?